A husband abandoned his pregnant wife. Years later karma returned. What would you do if the person who broke your heart suddenly needed you to save their life? That's exactly what happened to Emma, and her choice changed everything. Stay with me until the end to see how karma works in mysterious ways, and don't forget to like this video and subscribe to see more incredible true stories of justice and redemption. The hospital corridor seemed endless as Emma walked toward the transplant ward, each step heavier than the last. At 38, she had built a beautiful life, a successful career as a pediatrician, a loving daughter now in college, and inner peace that had taken years to achieve. Yet here she was, about to face the man who had abandoned her 16 years ago when she needed him most. "You don't have to do this," her best friend Sophia had insisted when Emma made her decision. "After what he did, you owe him nothing." But Emma knew something about forgiveness that few understood. As she pushed open the door to room 412, she came face to face with Michael, once her husband, now a stranger, his skin jaundiced, his once athletic frame withered by liver failure. Their eyes met, and in that moment, 16 years collapsed into nothing. "Emma," he whispered, tears forming in his sunken eyes. "You came." She nodded silently, wondering if she was making the biggest mistake of her life or fulfilling her most important purpose. 16 years earlier, Emma had been 22 and madly in love. She and Michael had married young, college sweethearts with big dreams. He was going to be a hotshot architect, she was finishing medical school. They had a tiny apartment filled with second-hand furniture and endless optimism. When the pregnancy test showed positive, Emma's hands trembled with excitement. They hadn't planned it, but the timing felt right. That evening, she prepared Michael's favorite dinner and placed the positive test in a small gift box. "What's this?" he asked, smiling as he loosened his tie after a long day at the firm. "Open it," Emma said, barely containing her excitement. His expression changed as he stared at the test. The smile vanished, replaced by something Emma had never seen before, fear, perhaps, or something worse. "Say something," she whispered, her own smile fading. "I can't do this," he said finally, his voice flat. "We talked about waiting. Building our careers first. I know it's sooner than we planned, but..." "No." The word fell between them like a stone. "I'm not ready to be a father. I can't." That night, they argued for hours. Emma cried, pleaded, reasoned, but something had broken in Michael, some fundamental trust in their shared future. 3 days later, she returned from classes to find half the closet empty and a note on the kitchen counter. "I'm sorry. I need time to figure things out. Don't wait for me, **. No phone call came the next day. Or the next. His parents claimed they didn't know where he'd gone. His friends avoided her calls. Within weeks, divorce papers arrived by courier, no return address, just a lawyer's signature and Michael's scrawled name on the dotted line. Emma collapsed on the bathroom floor that night, clutching her still flat stomach, wondering how she would survive this betrayal. But even in her darkest moment, something fierce and protective stirred within her. She would not let this break her. She would not let her child grow up seeing a mother destroyed by abandonment. "It's just you and me now," she whispered to her unborn baby. "And I promise, we're going to be okay." The pregnancy was difficult. Emma battled morning sickness while struggling through her medical rotations. Her parents helped when they could, but they lived 3 states away. Sophia became her rock, attending birthing classes with her and holding her hand through the lonely nights. "He doesn't deserve to know her," Sophia insisted when Lily was born, a perfect, dark-haired baby with Emma's green eyes and Michael's dimpled chin. "He gave up that right." Emma agreed. She had tried reaching out once more when she was 7 months pregnant, sending a letter to his parents' house with a sonogram image. The letter was returned unopened. The early years were a blur of exhaustion. Emma completed her residency with Lily strapped to her chest or sleeping in a portable crib in the hospital's on-call room. Fellow doctors covered for her when childcare fell through. Professors granted extensions when Lily caught fevers that kept Emma awake for days. Through it all, Emma never spoke ill of Michael to their daughter. When Lily was 4 and asked about her daddy, Emma simply said, "He couldn't stay with us, but that doesn't mean you aren't loved completely." As Lily grew, so did Emma's career. She specialized in pediatric care, her own experience as a single mother giving her unique empathy for struggling parents. By the time Lily turned 10, Emma had opened her own practice, focusing on underserved communities. Their tiny apartment became a comfortable house with a garden where Lily could play. Life settled into a rhythm that, while not what Emma had once dreamed of, brought its own fulfillment. The wound of Michael's abandonment scarred over. She dated occasionally but never let anyone close enough to risk Lily's stability or her own hard-won peace. Then, on Lily's 16th birthday, the past crashed back into their lives with a single phone call. "Dr. Bennett? This is Mercy Hospital in Chicago. We have a patient here, Michael Lawson. You're listed as his emergency contact." Emma nearly dropped the phone. There must be some mistake. I haven't spoken to Michael in 16 years. He was admitted with acute liver failure. He's asking for you specifically. Emma's first instinct was to hang up. After all this time, after all the birthdays and Christmases he'd missed, all the nights Lily had cried wondering why her father didn't want her, how dare he reach out now? But the doctor continued, "His condition is critical. Without a transplant soon, his prognosis is poor. He has no family members who are compatible donors." "And what does that have to do with me?" Emma asked, though she already knew the answer. As a doctor, she understood what the call meant. "He's hoping you might be willing to get tested as a potential living donor. It's a significant request, I know." Emma thanked the doctor and promised to think about it, though her mind was already made up. She would not help the man who had abandoned her and their unborn child. She owed him nothing. That night, she told Lily about the call. At 16, Lily was thoughtful and compassionate, qualities Emma had worked hard to nurture despite her own pain. "So he's dying?" Lily asked, her expression unreadable. "Without a transplant, yes." Lily was quiet for a long moment. "And you could save him?" "Potentially. If I'm a match." "But Lily, this man walked out on us. He never sent a birthday card, never paid a dime in child support. He doesn't deserve." "Mom," Lily interrupted, her eyes suddenly fierce. "You always taught me that we help people because it's right, not because they deserve it." Emma felt the weight of her own words coming back to her. For 16 years, she had tried to raise a daughter who understood compassion and forgiveness, even while harboring her own unresolved anger. "I want to meet him," Lily said finally. "Before you decide." The first meeting was awkward and painful. Michael lay in his hospital bed, a shadow of the vibrant young man Emma had loved. Lily stood tall beside her mother, her chin raised in a gesture so like Michael's that Emma felt her heart constrict. "You have her eyes," Michael said to Emma, looking at their daughter with wonder. "I have my own eyes," Lily replied coolly. "I just happen to share some DNA with both of you." Emma watched as her daughter asked direct, unflinching questions. "Why did you leave? Did you ever think about me? Do you regret it?" Michael answered each one, his voice weak but honest. He had been terrified of fatherhood, haunted by his own father's abusive legacy. He had convinced himself Emma and the baby would be better off without him. By the time he realized his mistake, months had passed, and shame kept him from reaching out. "I tracked your careers online," he admitted. "I saw you graduate medical school, Emma. I know about your practice. I've seen pictures of Lily's science fair wins." "Stalking isn't parenting," Lily said, but her voice had softened slightly. As they left the hospital that day, Emma felt conflicted. Michael's explanations didn't excuse his actions, but they made him human again, not the monster she had sometimes painted in her darkest moments. "What do you think?" she asked Lily as they drove home. Lily stared out the window for a long time before answering. "I think he was a coward. But I also think he's sorry." She turned to her mother. "Would you really let him die if you could save him?" The question hung between them, challenging everything Emma thought she knew about forgiveness and justice. The testing process was quick. Emma was a match, a good one. The surgery was scheduled for the following week. "You don't have to do this," Michael said when she told him. "I know I have no right to ask." "I'm not doing it for you," Emma replied. "I'm doing it because it's who I am. Who I've worked to become despite what happened between us." The night before the surgery, Emma couldn't sleep. She sat in her garden, watching the stars and wondering how life had brought her to this moment. Sophia called, still trying to talk her out of it. "He doesn't deserve your sacrifice," her friend insisted. "Maybe not," Emma agreed. "But Lily deserves to see that healing is possible. That forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting, but it can mean freedom." The surgery was successful. Emma recovered quickly, her healthy body bouncing back from the procedure. Michael's recovery was slower, his body accepting the partial liver transplant but requiring careful monitoring. During those weeks of recovery, something unexpected happened. As Michael regained his strength, he and Lily began to form a cautious relationship. It wasn't the easy bond of father and daughter that should have developed over 16 years, but it was something, a beginning. Emma kept her distance emotionally, focusing on her physical recovery and returning to work. But she couldn't deny the change in Lily, who seemed to have found a missing piece of herself in knowing her father, flaws and all. 6 months after the surgery, Michael asked to speak with Emma alone. "I can never repay what I took from you, from both of you," he said. "But I want you to know that I'm selling my architectural firm." Emma looked at him in confusion. Michael had built a successful business in Chicago, designing award-winning sustainable buildings. "I've set up a foundation," he continued, "for single parents pursuing medical careers. Full scholarships, childcare stipends, housing assistance. It's called the Lily Foundation." Emma felt tears spring to her eyes unexpectedly. "You don't need to do that." "I do," he insisted. "Not to earn forgiveness, but because it's right. Because I've seen what you accomplished despite my cowardice, and I want to make that path easier for others." 2 years passed. Michael moved to their city, renting an apartment close enough to be present in Lily's life but far enough to respect the boundaries Emma had established. He attended Lily's high school graduation, sitting in the row behind Emma and her parents, understanding his place in the hierarchy of those who had earned the right to celebrate Lily's achievements. When Lily left for college, pre-med, following in her mother's footsteps, Emma found herself facing an empty nest and unexpected emotions. The anger that had fueled her for so many years had gradually transformed into something more complex. Not forgiveness exactly, but understanding. On a crisp fall evening, Michael called with an unexpected request. "The Lily Foundation is hosting its first gala," he explained. "We've funded scholarships for 20 single parents so far. I was hoping, would you consider being our keynote speaker?" Emma hesitated. "I don't know, Michael. These students look up to you," he said. "Not just for your medical work, but for what you overcame. You don't have to mention me or our history. Just share your journey." At the gala, Emma stood at the podium looking out at the faces of young parents who were fighting to build careers while raising children alone. She saw her younger self in their determined expressions. 16 years ago, I found myself alone and pregnant, my dreams seemingly shattered," she began. "Today, I stand before you not despite that challenge, but because of how it shaped me." As she spoke, she caught Michael's eye from the side of the room. He nodded slightly, acknowledging the truth of her words without claiming any credit for her success. Later that evening, as the event wound down, they found themselves alone on the venue's balcony. "Thank you," Michael said simply. "Not just for tonight, but for raising our daughter to be better than both of us." Emma smiled, feeling the last pieces of bitterness finally dissolve. "She is pretty amazing, isn't she? She gets that from you." "No," Emma said, surprising herself. "She gets her compassion from both of us. It just took you longer to find yours." Michael looked at her, really looked at her, for the first time in years. "I don't expect you to ever fully forgive me, Emma. But I want you to know that saving my life gave me the chance to try to become someone worthy of knowing our daughter. And for that, I'll be eternally grateful." Emma thought about the long, difficult road that had brought them to this moment. The abandoned young woman she had been. The strong, successful doctor she had become. The daughter they had both contributed to in different ways. "Maybe that's what karma really is," she said thoughtfully. "Not punishment for our mistakes, but the opportunity to make things right, if we're brave enough to take it." As they stood side by side looking out at the city lights, Emma realized that the greatest revenge against abandonment wasn't hatred or even indifference, it was building a life so full and meaningful that when the past finally caught up, it no longer had the power to destroy. Sometimes the most powerful act isn't walking away from someone who hurt you, it's walking toward them with the strength they never knew you had. If this story touched your heart, please hit that like button and subscribe for more stories about forgiveness, redemption, and the unexpected ways our lives come full circle. Remember, karma isn't always about punishment, sometimes it's about the chance to heal what once seemed broken beyond repair.